Hey, my name is David Rook. I'm the male intake specialist here at the McShin Foundation. I have 363 days clean. I basically here at McShin handle all intakes and family relationships. Uh, and I pretty much manage the men that come into the program, deciding which houses and where they're going to live at, and various other jobs. I go to jail on Tuesdays and carry a recovery coach training class into the jails. I do court advocacy for McShin. That means I go to court and advocate on behalf of recovery and try to get people less time in jail and a chance at recovery, a way to change their life. And that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, so you said you have 363 days clean. So in 2 days, you'll have a year.
In 2 days, I will celebrate my first year of recovery.
Nice. That's exciting.
Thanks to McShin Foundation.
All right, so how did you hear about McShin and what brought you to McShin?
I heard about McShin. My wife found McShin and came here a couple of months before I did. And I saw the positive effect that it was having on her. What brought me here was I was arrested on a parole violation for I got a possession of a controlled substance, and I was already on probation, so I got violated and I was locked up in jail. Peter Schinholzer, who used to work here, took Michelle's suggestion to try and get me to come here as well, and of course I was more than willing to do time at McShin rather than do time in Department of Corrections. So that's how I came. Peter came to court, he advocated on my behalf, and the judge found the judge had enough open-mindedness to realize that recovery may be all I need, and I haven't looked back since.
Okay, so how has McShin helped you since you've been here?
Well, immediately when I got here, McShin gave me an instant network of people in recovery, and people ranging from 1 day clean to 30 years clean. So I had an instant network of people, either on a similar track that I was on, or people that had been where I had been and understood the trials that come along with trying to get clean and stay clean and develop a program of recovery. They taught me and showed me value in service work, sponsorship through a 12-step fellowship, which, by the way, has done wonders for me as well. But McShin really was the stepping stone into recovery and gave me an instant foundation, to build my recovery on, and helped me find purpose. They gave me a job 6 months in. 6 or 7 months in as an intake specialist, and I get to develop relationships with family members, and I get to help the newcomer coming in. I get to help them with my experience, and it's rewarding. It gave me a lot of purpose.
Okay, so here's where you get to tell your story. What was your life like before McShin?
Oh, well, my life before McShin, it's funny. I was talking to someone from high school that I had spoken to in many years recently, just about a day ago, and she was telling me about how she was worried about me in high school. I was the only one to come to her house high ever, and I was, she can remember me taking pain pills from her mother's medicine cabinet. That pretty much sums up my life. Everything I ever did from high school throughout my short college life and working career revolved around using. And I failed out of college because of drugs, or I quit college because of drugs. I lost many jobs over drugs. It was just, my life was chaotic, and a a lot of misery, a lot of pain. I was angry. So, I got married. I had 2 children in active addiction. I had, a lot of turmoil in my marriage and in my family relationships. It seemed, when you're using and you're in active addiction, things snowball and they get worse, it progressively gets worse. You go to more drastic lengths to get and use and maintain your high. In my case, the drugs became more serious, quantities became larger. I ended up doing heroin and I became an IV drug user. I used, Dilaudid was my drug of choice. I was arrested and charged with breaking and entering. I've had a DUI. I have crashed cars. I was arrested for possession. So before I got to McShin, to say the least, my life was out of control. And in this past year, I have been able to rebuild some friendships from the past. I've been able to take an honest look at myself and see how unmanageable, out of control that I was. I've rebuilt my family relationships. My children actually have their father aware and there with them. When I'm with them, I'm not high, I'm not thinking about my next drug. So I've been able to hold down a job. I really am able to reach out and help other people. I think I've been able to learn how to be a friend. Definitely not perfect, still have many flaws, character defects as we like to call them around recovery. But I've really been able to begin the process of recovery and fixing the wreckage from my past.
Okay, all right, so what is your hope for the future?
My hope for the future, I like that question. It's when you first get around recovery people, you hear them many times say, when I got here, I heard people say, if I had made a list of things I wanted when I first came into recovery, I would have sold myself short. And I always think, man, that is such a crock, like I could make a list of things that I want. But I'm not even 6 months into it, working an active program of recovery and living life and doing the next right thing and being able to help people and lay my head down at night and go to sleep without all the guilt and shame that's involved with using an active addiction. Peace of mind, joy, those things you can't put a price tag on. So if I had made the list, I would have sold myself short. So for the future, I just hope that I can, maintain a positive lifestyle, being a productive member of society, being a friend to people, helping the newcomers. I just hope that I hope I can sustain, the feeling of doing good, of making progress, and helping the next person that comes behind me. And I really, other than that, I don't have too many expectations. I live pretty much for the day. I enjoy the day I'm in. I make plans for the future and, I take it as it comes.
Okay, is there anything that you want to add? McShin or recovery?
I would add that the McShin Foundation's model, which is a recovery community organization, social model group, has bar none been the best form of treatment or pathway to recovery that I've found. And although it's not an actual pathway to recovery, it is, like I said earlier, it's a stepping stone for many of us. into whatever 12-step program or recovery path we decide to take. But I have been to treatment centers before, and you get a lot of education, and you get dumped out of treatment centers, and you're told go to meetings, get a sponsor, work steps, get involved in service. I think that the McShin Foundation is a reality-based recovery center. You learn to, while you're here, balance a job, recovery, relationships. You do all that stuff, while they hold you accountable and responsible to your commitments in life and your commitment to your recovery. So I think that's why it seems to work so much better for some of us, is that, we learn while we're here to do, day-to-day tasks and live life on life's terms as life shows up, as opposed to different treatment centers where you go and you get a lot of education about, the disease of addiction, and then you get dumped out back into the world. It's the value of having an instant network of recovery people and people who've been where you are. I mean, I haven't found it comparable to anything. And, we see success with people here that have come from, these high dollar treatment centers that range anywhere from $22,000 to $27,000 a month. And we see success, I would believe, as a high percentage, or if not higher than what they have. And that's pretty much it.
All right, thanks, David.